Good morning, CEO Bear. Hiring and firing. Hiring and firing. If you are a solopreneur, a one man or a one woman show, not an issue yet. But sooner or later, you're going to end up needing to scale and you're going to need people to scale. People are the most important resource inside of the organization, inside of the company, the 501c3, the whatever. The wrong people, you will not scale, or you will scale very slowly and you'll have lots of freaking headaches while you're doing it. The right people, you can scale exponentially. Who's the right people? What do you need to do? We, on this side of the camera, do some fairly unique things. Tactical medicine. There's absolutely a tactical medicine community, but it's not nearly as big as the medical community or nurses or lawyers or doctors or concrete guys, right? So we have some pretty specific needs that we need to fill when it comes to hiring. Or victim services for rescued juvenile human trafficking survivors who will enter into our restoration program. That's pretty specific. And so you need to identify what you're hiring for, and then you need to identify and line out characteristics that you want people to have. Not just skills, characteristics. And this comes back to what is the ethos of your company? Why do you exist? What's your mission statement? What do you tolerate? What do you embrace? What is a no-go? Will not happen here. You need to know those things, and you need to accurately convey those things to potential hires so that they know what they're getting into as well. And so that from day one, there's a level of accountability that if you don't adhere to this, if your actions and your attitude will not support the mission statement, you're not going to fit in here. So you should know from jump whether or not you want to be here. I should know from jump whether or not I want you here, whether or not this is going to work. Do people change over time? Yes, for the good and for the bad. It's way easier to train technical expertise than it is to train conviction and heart condition. So the right person doesn't necessarily mean that they possess all the technical skills. Now, ideally, they have the right heart set, the right mindset, and the right skill set. But of those three things, skill set, even if it's a highly particular skill set, is the easiest to train, in my experience. We can teach all types of things organizationally. I can, but it takes a lot longer. Teach somebody how to be a good person and how to care. And so what's your time horizon? How much time do you have to invest in somebody? And understand, everybody is temporary. Everybody is temporary. You mean my full-time W-2 employees are temporary? Yes. How can I say that? Because I'm temporary and I'm the boss. Now, even with the best of intentions, I can get hit by a bus tomorrow. The illusion of permanence is non-existent. That shit's make-believe. And so even if, I'll give you an example. My brother Bob, Chief Operating Officer of Refuge Medical. Bob's not going anywhere, and I don't want Bob to go anywhere. But that doesn't mean that something might not happen to Bob, yah forbid. Or Bob wakes up one morning and the Father has told him, I need you to go to Zimbabwe and preach the word, or whatever. Okay. And so the systems that we have, that's important. The systems that we have in place that allow us to operate the business should function independent of whether or not Bob is in those systems, or I am in those systems, or anybody else is in those systems. So if you have good, strong systems in place inside of your business, systems for what? For hiring, for firing, for inventory management, for marketing, for branding, for fulfillment. Do you have an advertising budget? Profit and loss, OpEx, profit, taxation, insurance, payroll systems, etc., 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 etc. Good, strong systems negate the need for heroes within the organization. Now, you still want heroes. You still want people that are just top tier. But the company doesn't fall apart if/when one of these heroes goes somewhere else for all the right reasons or all the wrong reasons. And so when you're hiring, you need to define the role that you're hiring for, define the mission statement of the company, the ethos of the company, and what that person is going to be doing, what they're expected to do. Clearly define what the compensation is. And is this a full-time position? And what do you mean by full-time? Is it a salaried gig? Because most people, if you've ever been on salary, know that, man, I was project managing billion-dollar projects as the project manager, and I had concrete truck drivers making more than I did because they had a great base rate, hourly rate, and then beyond 40 hours, they got paid time and a half, and beyond 60 hours, they got paid double time. And we were working a minimum of 80 hours a week. Yeah. So the concrete truck driver that I have nothing against concrete truck drivers, but they were taking home sometimes twice as much as the guy who's ultimately responsible for the success or failure of a billion-dollar operation. Because that guy, me, was salaried. So what do you expect as far as this person to put out? Clearly define that. And if somebody's salaried, are they salaried but there's a commission structure based on sales? Line that out. Or is there a bonus structure based upon timeline and budget and early completion, or liquidated damages or the avoidance thereof, or whatever? Line all that out. Put it on a piece of paper. Review it. You review it. They review it. And then sign it and agree to it. And let your yes be yes and your no be no. Is there an out clause in that? If this thing happens, then this person can go, no harm, no foul. Another thing we do at Refuge and elsewhere inside of the organizations, but this started at Refuge. My brother Bob started doing this. I think it's a great idea. Is if we're hiring to fill a slot on a team, a sub-team inside the organization, fulfillment, shipping, media, etc., etc., etc. Because we have the executive team up here managing the strategic, then we have these different teams, media, fulfillment, shipping, operations, managing the daily, the tactical. If one of those teams has a slot that needs to be filled, everybody on that team is involved in the interview process of whoever the potential candidate is. So they all get a say. They all get to talk to that person on the phone, vibe check them. Because again, technical expertise is important, comma, the human fit is way more important. Because one bad apple spoils the whole bunch, bro. Spoils the whole bunch. That's on the hiring side. On the firing side, do not take too long to fire somebody. When you know, you know. And you can and probably will offer corrective counseling, an intervention, and sit down and have conversations with people. And maybe they're just having a bad day. Well, here's the thing, man. You string enough bad days together, now it's just a bad employee. It's just a bad teammate. Or maybe they're great people, but they're not great here. Okay. That's fine. And you don't have to be a jerk about it. You don't have to get all emotional about it. In fact, I recommend that you're unemotional in the hiring and the firing processes. It just is what it is. You don't have to assign value judgments to this, especially when you're little. I'll repeat that. You don't have to assign value judgments to this, especially when you're little. You're not a terrible boss if you hired somebody who turned out to be a jerk. And they're not terrible people. It's just not working for them here. Okay. When that becomes obvious, it's time for them to go. Because, number one, they're diluting, third time I'm going to use this word, the ethos of the company. They're damaging the morale of everybody who does want to be here and everybody who is performing. And you're telling your team that you will tolerate these slackers who don't want to be a part of what we're doing. You're also telling the team that you don't have the balls to confront problems head on. So when you know, get rid of that person as quickly as possible. Now, some states you work in, you're going to have questions like, yeah, but if I terminate this person wrongly, then they're going to be on unemployment for 26 weeks and blah, blah, blah. Well, I live in a state that has like 4 laws, and that's not one of them. So, preferably, operate a business in a freedom state. If you don't live in a freedom state, I don't know what to tell you. I much prefer to do business in freedom states. There's entire swaths of the country that we won't go to. We won't go train there. It's not worth it. Basic rule of thumb is, can I carry my pistol there? If the answer is no or maybe, then no, we won't be there. Or maybe we won't be there. That's a good canary in the coal mine for me. But when it comes to firing, if you have clearly defined what this person's role is, what their compensation is, what's expected of them, what your core values at the company are, you have something to hold them accountable to. That it's not just, Bill, I just feel like you're not cutting it here anymore. No, Bill, I've got data. I've got metrics that say that you're not cutting it here anymore. You're not rising to the level of performance required to be part of this team, and you're dragging the rest of the team down. And I wish the best for you, man, and I'm happy to give you a recommendation. But you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Have a nice life. Immediately. And so you should hire carefully, not necessarily your best friend or the guy that you went to school with or somebody you know. Do they solve the problem that the company has? That's what hiring is doing. You're hiring on capacity and technical expertise to solve problems inside of the business. So when you hire somebody, they have to solve the problem that the business is facing. You're investing in a human being to be a part of the mission that you are trying to accomplish through commerce, through the business. So is it a good investment? And when it turns out to not be a good investment, because that happens, it can be 10 to 50% of the people that you hire don't fit in here. It just doesn't work. In fact, we have a probationary period at Refuge. The first 90 days you're on at Refuge, ball's in your court, homie. If at any time during that 90 days we observe that this ain't gonna work, hey man, love you, you don't get to be here anymore. You are diluting the ethos of Refuge Medical. You can't be a part of what we have going on. Our brand and our mission is too important to have anybody diminish it, because if we suck at our job, people die. If we suck at our job, everybody else here can no longer pay their bills, feed their family, build their future, because you don't want to pull your weight. Not going to do that. But I have rights as an employee. Yeah, you do. And I have rights as an employer. You will perform or you will not be here. And if you have a team of meat eaters, the team will handle that. Hey man, You're not pulling your weight. Shape up or ship out. Because you don't tolerate bullshit. So hire carefully, fire quickly. Quickly. It's not worth it. And as your company continues to grow, you should have a backlog of resumes of people who want to be a part of what you're doing. That when you see Bill over here, Bill ain't gonna cut it. All right, you open the desk drawer, you start rifling through the resumes, you find somebody who fits the role, technical expertise on paper of the job that Bill is doing, and then you start the interview process to find out if they're the right cultural fit, people fit for the team within the organization that needs to perform this scope of work. Last thing I'll say about this. When it comes to hiring, we've gotten to the point, and I like it, where somebody will submit a resume, somebody else within the organization will have a conversation with them to pre-qualify them, and then the next step is I talk to them. Not forever, 10, 15 minutes, because I want to know them. I want to get to know them. I want to vibe check them. I want to see if this person is going to be able to flourish inside of our organization. And if they say the wrong things, or if their attitude sucks, or if they're disrespectful of somebody else's time, ain't gonna work. If they're disrespectful, period, ain't gonna work. They got better things to do. Or if, do you want to be part of this organization? Well, yeah, I think it would be cool. I'm not looking for partial commitment, because nobody on the team is partially committed. They're all locked in. And so if this isn't an opportunity for somebody that just absolutely, they are chomping at the bit to be a part of our team, it's not going to be a good fit. And so rather than getting too far down the hiring process, I check them, vibe check them. Is this going to work? Can you be a part of us? And the answer to that's either yes or no. And if the answer is yes, then they can move along the hiring process. Because ultimately, me as CEO, as boss man, I'm the ultimate driver of the ethos of this company, the core values of this company, the mission statement of this company, the standards that we operate at this company. They're ultimately right here on my shoulder. And so I'm going to check this person first. If they fit, they fit. And the last guy that we interviewed for a position within the organization that has a high level of technical expertise required, I told him, I said, I will hire a Boy Scout with the right attitude before I will hire an 18 Delta Special Forces medic with the wrong attitude. Because it's more important that your heart set and mindset are aligned than it is that your skill set is aligned. 18 Delta has an incredible amount of training that's gotten them to the point that they're at now. They're very technically qualified at tactical medicine, maybe the most technically qualified at tactical medicine. But if they don't want to be here, if they're not bought into what our mission is, there's no point. I can train at a very high cost, time and revenue. I can train that technical expertise, but I can't train their heart condition. Y'all have a blessed day. Shalom.